My mother-in-law brought my wife's ex to Thanksgiving dinner and claimed, "Relax. We're not replacing you." I was in my attorney's sterile, quiet office, signing divorce papers, when my phone vibrated, pulling me into a chaotic scene that perfectly encapsulated the end of my life as I knew it. It was Daniel, my college buddy, the same guy who bailed me out that one time. "Bro, you need to see this." He sent a photo, then another, then a video. There she was, Chloe, my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, standing in the courtyard outside our apartment building. Barefoot. In December. She had crystals arranged in a circle on the cold pavement, a mason jar of God knows what next to her. Her arms were flailing at the sky like she was trying to flag down a rescue helicopter. I swear, I wish I were making this up. My attorney leaned over, peered at my screen. "Is she performing a ritual?" he asked. "She's manifesting," I told him, a dry laugh escaping me. Or whatever she calls it this week. Daniel's next text flashed. "Building security is watching her. Nobody knows what to do. This is insane." I zoomed in. Chloe was wearing her spiritual protection necklace, the one she bought off Etsy for $80. Guess it doesn't shield you from divorce papers or prenups. A few months ago, I had a wife, in-laws, a life that, from the outside, looked perfectly normal. Now, I was watching that same wife conduct a courtyard séance while my attorney waited for me to sign on the dotted line. So, how did I get here? You're asking the right question. I'm Liam, 33, an accounting manager pulling in about $92,000. Chloe, 29, is a yoga instructor, probably making $35,000 between her studio classes and private clients. We'd been married for 2 years, together for 4 before that. Before we even thought about rings, I insisted on a prenup. My dad, a retired paralegal, hammered it into my head since I was 18. Love is great. Contracts are better. The prenup was solid, with an adultery clause, emotional or physical, and a financial infidelity clause for any unauthorized transfers over $5,000. She signed it without much fuss, claiming she trusted the universe to guide our marriage. I trusted paperwork. When we first met, she was grounded, normal. A few crystals on her nightstand, sure, but so did half of Pinterest. She didn't weaponize it. The shift started about a year into our marriage, manifestation podcasts, sage bundles, then the vocabulary changed. Every disagreement became about energy. Every boundary I set was low vibration behavior. Every time I called her out, I was attracting conflict with my ego. It was a convenient shield to dodge responsibility. I forgot groceries once. I was disrupting our household harmony. She maxed out a credit card on healing crystals and sound bowls. I was closed off to abundance for questioning it. Every time she messed up, the universe had a lesson for me. Every time I had a concern, I was operating from a space of fear. I tried to talk to her once, calmly, explaining how I felt she used spiritual language to shut down conversations instead of having them. She just gave me this pitying smile and said, "You're just not ready to ascend yet." Then she burned sage around my side of the bed to clear the resistant energy. Her older sister, Brooke, 35, a pharmaceutical sales rep, had a picture-perfect social media life, vacation photos, designer bags. Their mom, Sarah, ate it up, constantly sharing Brooke's posts, heart emojis everywhere. Chloe felt invisible, so she found spirituality, the kind where accountability becomes negativity and criticism becomes someone else's problem with their own energy. Her family was worse. Brooke's whole identity was being the daughter who made it. Her marriage to Ethan was a glossy shell with nothing inside. Ethan was checked out, barely spoke at family events, looked like a man serving a life sentence. But on Instagram? Couple goals. Sarah, early 60s, a retired teacher who'd remarried into money, lived for appearances, what the neighbors thought, what she could brag about at her book club. She never thought I was good enough for Chloe, not because I was a bad guy, but because I wasn't impressive enough to brag about. She couldn't say, "My son-in-law the surgeon." She had to say, "My son-in-law the accountant." And it physically pained her. They'd make snide comments about our apartment, about when we'd upgrade, about whether I was really going to stay in accounting forever, about how Chloe could have had anyone. 2 Christmases ago, Sarah gave Brooke a Rolex and handed me a self-help book called Unlocking Your Potential, with highlighted chapters. Brooke's birthday dinners were at steakhouses with private rooms. Mine was at a chain restaurant where Sarah complained about the parking. Small cuts, constant. Once, at a family barbecue, Sarah introduced me to her neighbor as Chloe's current husband. Current. Like I was a lease she planned to trade in when the mileage got too high. Ethan caught that one, too, giving me a look across the yard that spoke volumes without a single word. Chloe just calmed me down, said her mom wasn't well these days. I brushed it off. The week before Thanksgiving, Chloe was a ball of anxiety, chattering about alignment and energy protection, how Thanksgiving would be a test of our vibrations. Tuesday, I came home early and found her on the phone in the bedroom, door closed. I walked in, and she went quiet fast. Claimed it was just Brooke. Too defensive. Wednesday morning, I noticed her laptop was open, Zillow up, showing cheap studio apartments across town. I screenshotted it. Didn't say a word. Thursday morning, we drove to Sarah's. Brooke and Ethan were already there. Ethan, nice enough, quiet, dead behind the eyes. Sarah answered the door. Chloe, sweetheart. Big hug. Then she looked at me face flat. And then I saw him. Brandon. Chloe's ex-boyfriend, sitting on Sarah's couch like he belonged there. I stopped in the doorway. What's he doing here? Chloe touched my arm. Don't make this weird. He's practically family. Mom stayed close with him. He's your ex. We're all adults, Liam. This is about moving past ego and embracing community energy. Sarah swept in, touching Brandon's arm. Relax, Liam. We're not replacing you. It's just a reminder you're not the only option. She said it with a smile, like she'd just delivered the funniest line ever. I just stared at her. Excuse me. Chloe actually laughed, a nervous, brittle sound. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger, not yet. Clarity. Brandon stood up, extending his hand. Liam, good to see you, man. Hope you don't mind me crashing. Sarah invited me. I didn't shake his hand. You knew about this? I asked Chloe. I thought you'd be mature enough to handle it. It's just dinner, she said. Just dinner. My wife's ex-boyfriend at Thanksgiving, and no one told me. Sarah beamed at Brandon. Brandon has been such a dear. He still checks in on me, brings me flowers on my birthday. That's the kind of man who understands family. She glanced at me. Some people just have that instinct. Brandon gave a humble shrug. Sarah's always been like a second mom to me. Brooke emerged from the kitchen, giving Brandon a side hug. And he just got promoted to regional director. We're so proud of him. Brandon waved it off. It's really more of an executive role now, overseeing operations across 4 states. Vague. No specifics, just buzzwords. I noticed his watch looked expensive from across the room, but up close, the face was slightly crooked. A replica. The crown was too thick, the second hand ticked instead of sweeping smoothly. I'd seen enough guys at work try to flex knockoffs to spot one immediately. I looked at Ethan. He looked like he wanted to evaporate, gave me a small nod of solidarity. This was a setup. They'd planned this, invited Brandon specifically to remind me and Chloe of what she could have had. Chloe kept trying to make everything seem normal. We moved to the table. Sarah at the head, Brooke to her right, Brandon next to Brooke, Chloe and I to her left. Ethan sat at the far end, already checked out. About 20 minutes in, it started. So, Liam, Sarah said, Chloe mentioned you're still in that same position at work. No movement on the promotion front. I kept my voice even. I'm doing well where I am. Steady work, good benefits. Steady, Sarah repeated, like she was tasting something sour. Brooke, didn't Ethan just get promoted again? Ethan looked up, startled. Yeah, VP of Operations now. VP of Operations, Sarah purred. That's the kind of trajectory that gives a woman security, not just steadiness. Ethan looked like he wanted to disappear. I'd later learn he hadn't even wanted that promotion. It meant more hours away from his kids. But Brooke had pushed for it because VP sounded better at dinner parties. Brandon leaned forward. Hey, nothing wrong with stability. Someone's got to hold down the middle, right? Hold down the middle. He just called me mediocre, with a smile. Brooke jumped in. You know what I was telling Mom? I was looking at houses in Chloe's neighborhood. Not to buy, obviously, we'd never downgrade, but property values are declining. The schools aren't rated well. I'd be so anxious raising kids there. Chloe stiffened next to me. We talked about kids, about that neighborhood. We're not planning to stay there forever, Chloe said quietly. Oh, I know, sweetie. Brooke's voice dripped with fake sympathy. I'm sure Liam has a plan. You do have a plan, right? For giving my sister the life she deserves? Sarah nodded. That's all we want, Liam. To know Chloe's taken care of, that she's not stuck. I'm not stuck, Mom, Chloe said, but her voice was weak. Of course not, honey. You always have options, right, Brandon? Brandon raised his glass slightly. Always. Chloe knows I've got her back. He called her Chloe. Right in front of me. Ethan was staring at his plate. He wanted no part of this. I think we're doing fine, I said. We're happy. That should count for something. Happy, Brooke scoffed. Sure, but happy doesn't pay for private school. Happy doesn't get you into the right neighborhoods. Brooke, Ethan muttered, maybe ease up. She shot him a look that could freeze lava. He went back to his plate. Sarah patted Chloe's hand. Sweetheart, I just want what's best for you. I look at Brooke, at the life Ethan provides. Is that so wrong? I do have everything, Chloe said, but she was looking at Brandon when she said it. That's when Sarah dropped the hammer. You know, Brandon was just telling me about his new condo. 3 bedrooms, city views, doorman building, all by himself at 32. That's what ambition looks like. She turned to me. Liam, when do you think you might be in a position to provide something like that? Brandon held up his hands. Sarah, come on. Everyone's path is different. Of course it is, Sarah replied. Some paths just go further than others. Brooke laughed. Brandon grinned. Sarah looked satisfied. Something felt off, though. Brandon talked about downtown and views, but got weirdly vague when Ethan asked which building. Near the park. You know the area. No address, no floor number, just vibes. I filed that away. And when Sarah mentioned splitting the check for the sides she'd ordered, Brandon patted his pockets. Left my wallet in the car. Venmo you later. 3rd time I'd seen him do that move at family events. Conveniently forgot cash. Promised to pay back later. I looked at Chloe, waiting for her to say something. Anything. She was staring at the table, silent. Then Sarah raised her glass. Let's toast to family, to success, to Brooke and Ethan's beautiful life, to Brandon and his achievements, and to Chloe, who I'm sure will figure things out eventually. I set my fork down. You know what's interesting about this conversation? Sarah's smile tightened. What's that? None of you have asked if Chloe's happy. Not once. You've talked about money, property values, condos, but not once has anyone asked if she's actually happy. You just assumed she couldn't be. Brooke rolled her eyes. Oh, here we go. You've spent 20 minutes implying I'm not good enough, using her ex-boyfriend as some kind of measuring stick, and Chloe hasn't said a word to stop it. Is this what family dinner is to you? Sarah's face went cold. I think you're being very dramatic. If you're feeling attacked, perhaps that says more about your insecurities than our intentions. Brandon nodded. Got to be able to handle honest feedback, man. My wife's ex is at Thanksgiving making comments about what he can provide, and everyone's acting like that's normal. It's a setup. Liam, Chloe's voice was sharp. Stop. You're embarrassing me. Me? I was embarrassing her. Sarah got up, humming, to get the turkey as if everything was normal. This whole thing was planned, I said. You invited him here to make me feel small, to remind Chloe she has options. And nobody had the decency to give me a heads up. Brandon stood up, got in my face. Onion on his breath, eyes a little too bright. Maybe if you were man enough to handle a little competition, Sarah wouldn't have needed to remind anyone of anything. Sit down, Brandon. Or what? He puffed his chest out, stepped closer. You going to cry about your feelings some more? No wonder Chloe's been texting me. She needs a real man, not whatever you are. The table went silent. Chloe's face went white. She hadn't expected him to say that out loud. Brandon. Brooke hissed. Not now. But Brandon was committed. Months of planning, and he'd finally gotten his moment. Cheap cologne and ego mixing into something stupid. You know what your problem is, Liam? You're boring. You're safe. You're the guy women settle for when they can't find anyone better. Chloe finally spoke. Brandon, enough. No, I said, my voice calm steady. Let him finish. I want to hear this. Brandon stepped even closer, close enough I could see the crooked face on that fake watch. You want to hear it? Fine. You're a placeholder. Always have been. And deep down, you know it. That's why you're so threatened right now. Because you know the second Chloe wakes up, she's coming back to me. I didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Just looked at him. You done? Yeah, I'm done. He jabbed a finger at my chest. What are you going to do about it, placeholder? Nothing. Because you just showed everyone exactly who you are, I said, and that's more satisfying than anything I could say. That's when he swung. Brandon threw a wild right hook. Sloppy. Telegraphed from a mile away. The kind of punch a guy throws when he's spent his whole life getting his way and never faced real consequences. All arm, no hip rotation, weight on his front foot. I slipped it clean, felt the air move past my face. Then I hit him back. One shot, right on the jaw. Solid hip rotation, weight transfer. Everything my boxing trainer taught me back in college. I'd done 2 years of boxing at the campus gym. Started because I needed the cardio, stayed because I liked the discipline. Never competed, never wanted to. But I put in the hours. Sparred every week. Learned how to throw a punch that landed. The kind of hit that makes a sound you feel in your chest. The kind of hit that ends conversations. Brandon's head snapped back. His eyes went glassy. His legs turned into overcooked spaghetti. He stumbled backward, arms pinwheeling like a cartoon character trying not to fall off a cliff. He didn't catch his balance. Sarah had just walked out of the kitchen, carrying the turkey. 22 pounds of perfectly roasted bird on her grandmother's antique serving platter. This was her moment, the centerpiece of her Instagram Thanksgiving. She never saw Brandon coming. He crashed into her like a linebacker, hitting a punt returner. The turkey went airborne. Sarah's heels slipped on the hardwood. And then gravity happened. The bird landed directly on her chest and burst like a delicious grenade. Stuffing exploded everywhere. The gravy boat tipped, pouring gravy across her silk blouse. A drumstick detached and ended up in her hair. The cranberry sauce bowl got knocked off the counter and landed on her face. Sarah lay there on her back, covered in her own Thanksgiving dinner. Turkey carcass on her chest, stuffing in her collar, gravy soaking through her silk, cranberry sauce on her face like some kind of festive horror mask. Brandon was on the floor next to her, groaning and holding his jaw. His replica watch had come off in the fall. It lay in a pool of gravy, face cracked. That fake Rolex shattered in giblets. Poetic. Ethan laughed. A genuine, from-the-gut laugh that sounded like it had been trapped in his chest for years. Tears were forming in his eyes. I caught him pulling out his phone under the table, angling it toward the floor where Sarah was still sputtering. Brooke shot him a death glare. This isn't funny. It's a little funny, Ethan wheezed. Chloe was frozen, hand over her mouth, looking at me, looking at her mom covered in poultry, looking at Brandon groaning on the floor. My dinner. Sarah finally screamed, spitting out stuffing. She sat up and looked down at herself. Gravy was dripping from her chin. Cranberry sauce was in her eyebrows. You ruined my dinner. You ruined everything. The gravy didn't scald her, though. Nothing did, because she'd let the whole spread sit out for nearly an hour while she fussed over table settings and lighting for photos. Sacrificed edibility for aesthetics. The Instagram would have looked great. The actual dinner? Room temperature disappointment. Fitting. Brandon threw the first punch, I said, calm. I defended myself. He's the one who knocked you into the turkey. I don't care who started it. Sarah was scrambling to stand, but her heels kept slipping on the greasy floor, like watching a seal try to climb a water slide. Call the police. Call them now, Chloe. Call the police now. Chloe pulled out her phone, her hands shaking. She looked at me one more time, like she was waiting for me to apologize, to fix this, to make it all go away. I didn't. She dialed. Brandon was still on the floor, sitting in a pool of pan drippings, holding his jaw. His eyes were unfocused. Did anybody get the, what was that? That was a right hook, Ethan said helpfully. He had given up trying to hide his smile. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the chair. Where do you think you're going? Brooke demanded. Her dress had gravy handprints on it now. Outside to wait for the cops, since apparently that's how we're handling this. You can't just leave after assaulting someone. He swung first. I defended myself. Your mom got knocked down as a result of his actions. That's what happened. That's what I'll tell the cops. That's what Ethan saw. Everyone looked at Ethan. Ethan shrugged. Brandon threw first. I saw it. Brooke's face contorted. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm on the side of what actually happened. Ethan looked at me with something like respect. Brandon started it. Liam finished it. Then physics and Turkey did the rest. I walked toward the door, stepped over Brandon, who was still sitting in a puddle of gravy, trying to figure out what year it was. This isn't over. Sarah screamed from the floor. She'd finally managed to sit up, but hadn't attempted standing again. The drumstick was still in her hair. Nobody had mentioned it. You'll pay for this. All of this. I stopped at the door, turned around, took one last look at the scene. Sarah, covered in turkey, cranberry sauce dripping from her face, screaming threats. Brandon sitting in a pool of gravy, jaw swelling, staring at nothing. Brooke with gravy handprints on her designer dress, looking like she'd just watched her Instagram life collapse. Ethan not even trying to hide his smile anymore. And Chloe, just standing there, phone in hand, tears on her face, not moving to help anyone. Not defending me, not defending them, just frozen. Happy Thanksgiving, I said. Then I walked outside and texted Daniel. Might need you to bail me out tonight. What happened? Punched my wife's ex-mother-in-law is covered in turkey. Cops are coming. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. On my way. Don't say anything without me there. Also, please tell me there's video of the turkey thing. No video, but I'll remember it forever. The cops arrived about 15 minutes later. 2 officers, professional. I was sitting on the porch, calm. Brandon was inside with an ice pack. Sarah had finally gotten up and was in the bathroom trying to wash cranberry sauce out of her hair. They took statements. Brandon claimed he attacked me unprovoked. Sarah backed him up when she emerged from the bathroom, still slightly orange from the cranberry sauce. Brooke backed him up. Chloe just stood there, not saying anything either way. Ethan, though. Ethan spoke up. Brandon threw the first punch, he said, clear and calm. I saw the whole thing. He got in Liam's face, called him names, jabbed him in the chest, then swung. Liam defended himself with 1 punch. Brandon stumbled backward and knocked Sarah down. She was carrying the turkey. That's exactly what happened. Brooke looked at him like he'd just burned down their marriage along with their mother's Thanksgiving. That's not what happened. Brandon said, his jaw already swelling, words getting mushy. That's exactly what happened, Ethan countered. And I'll say it again in court if I have to. The officers exchanged a look. One of them pulled me aside. Here's the situation. We got conflicting statements. The guy's got a mark on his face. Even if he threw first, someone's getting taken in tonight. I nodded. Do what you gotta do. They cuffed me, read me my rights, put me in the back of the squad car. As we pulled away, I saw Sarah standing in the doorway, still slightly orange from the cranberry sauce she hadn't fully washed off. Still had a piece of stuffing in her hair she'd missed, still furious. Chloe was behind her, crying. I didn't feel bad. Funny how getting arrested can feel like freedom when you've been trapped in the wrong life. Daniel was waiting at the station when I got there. The man showed up in sweatpants and a hoodie, looking like he'd been pulled off his couch mid-game, but he had cash for bail and the name of a defense attorney ready to go. Bail's posted, he said as we walked out into the cold night air. Misdemeanor assault, first offense. You'll be fine. Thanks for coming. Are you kidding? I've been waiting for something like this for years. Every time we hung out with Chloe's family, I could see you dying inside. This was inevitable. I'm just glad you finally snapped in style. We got in his car. He looked at me. So, what now? I pulled out my phone, opened my contacts, found the number for a divorce attorney my coworker had recommended after his own disaster of a marriage. Now, I go scorched earth. What about Chloe? She made her choice. She chose to sit there while they tore me down. She chose to call the cops on me for defending myself. She chose to not say one word in my defense. She's not my wife anymore. She's just the woman I used to be married to. And the prenup? That prenup is about to become the best investment I ever made. We got back to my apartment around midnight. I didn't go inside. Didn't even want to look at the place where I'd spent 2 years pretending everything was fine. I need to crash at your place tonight, I said. Already assumed. Guest room's ready. At Daniel's place, I sat on the couch for maybe an hour. Then I made some calls. First call, that divorce attorney. Left a voicemail. I need to file for divorce immediately. I have a prenup with an adultery clause and a financial infidelity clause. Both have been violated. Call me back as soon as you can. Second call, my bank's 24-hour line. Locked down our joint account. Set up a new individual account. Arranged to transfer my direct deposit first thing in the morning. Third call, building management's emergency line. The lease was only in my name. Chloe had never been added officially. I requested that they not let her add anyone to the lease or make any changes without my written approval. By 2 a.m., I had a plan. The next morning, I went back to the apartment while Chloe was at her yoga studio. Started taking back what was mine. Pre-marriage furniture, my gaming setup, my TV, my kitchen appliances, my books, my files, the good cookware my mom gave me, the espresso machine I'd bought with my first bonus, the Bluetooth speaker system I'd installed myself, the artwork I'd bought before we met, my tools, my winter gear. Every gift I'd given her that she'd shoved in a closet because it didn't match the energy, I left them there untouched for now. I also grabbed the box from our closet shelf. The one with our wedding album, her love letters from the first year, the ticket stubs from our first concert. I put it by the door. She could keep that. I didn't want any souvenirs from a lie. Then I changed every password. Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon Prime, building gym fob, garage door clicker. Removed her as an authorized user on my credit cards. Changed the Wi-Fi password. Set up 2-factor authentication on everything. 1 hour of work, and she was locked out of every digital convenience I'd been paying for. I screenshotted every text where she called my boundaries low vibration. Every time she chose her family over addressing their disrespect, every spiritual buzzword she'd used to avoid accountability. Backed it all up to the cloud. Friday morning, Chloe texted, "Are you coming back? You assaulted Brandon. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Brandon threw the first punch." Not, "I'm sorry my family treated you like that." Just concern about embarrassment. I didn't respond. She called twice. By noon, the text shifted. "This silent treatment is toxic. The universe is showing me that you're not aligned with growth right now. Mom's still finding stuffing in her hair. You owe her an apology." I saved that last one. Figured my attorney might appreciate the comedy. I spent Friday setting things up. The divorce attorney called back. Guy in his mid-40s, sharp, no nonsense. We met that afternoon. How long married? 2 years. Any kids? No. Assets? Apartments in my name. Only joint checking I already locked down. She makes about a third of what I make. And I've got a prenup with an adultery clause. Tell me about the prenup. Ironclad. Both parties had separate attorneys review it. If either party is unfaithful, emotional, or physical, they forfeit alimony and walk away with only their pre-marriage assets. There's also a financial infidelity clause. Any unauthorized transfers over $5,000 trigger the same penalty. Is she in violation? I told him what I knew so far. The texts I'd screenshotted. Brandon's outburst at dinner confirming they'd been in contact. The $15,000 she'd loaned her sister from our joint account without telling me. He nodded. That's a start. Any documentation of the emotional affair? I'm working on it. Keep digging. If we can document emotional infidelity combined with the financial transfer, that prenup does the heavy lifting. She walks with what she came in with. We filed that Monday. I pulled the bank statements myself. Breach of prenuptial agreement. I requested she vacate the apartment within 30 days. The next week, I found more. Chloe had used my laptop to help Brooke with paperwork and never logged out. When I grabbed a tax PDF, her downloads were still there, Bank statements, cards, past due notices, all with Brooke's name. Behind the Instagram, Brooke was buried in debt. Designer bags on maxed-out cards, a kitchen remodel at 18% interest, behind on the mortgage. She'd borrowed $15,000 from Chloe secretly. Promised to pay it back 10 months ago. And people at work were sick of her. 3 complaints for bullying, taking credit for others' work, bad-mouthing colleagues. The woman who spent Thanksgiving talking about property values was 1 missed payment away from collapse. Even better, in that same downloads folder, I found 1 email thread between Chloe and Brandon. Enough to show a pattern. My attorney subpoenaed the rest in discovery. Messages going back months. One where she wrote, "Sometimes I think about what my life would look like if I'd stayed with you." Another where he called her my future. Emotional affair documented. I called my attorney. Found something interesting. Emails between Chloe and Brandon showing emotional affair behavior going back months, plus Brooke's financial mess involving the money my wife transferred. All of it documented. Send me everything. We'll see what sticks. Wednesday, Chloe got served. 2 days later, building management called me. "Sir, your situation is back outside, and she's assembling props." Props? Candles, crystals, some kind of bowl. She's barefoot again. Call me if she lights anything on fire. I walked down, and there she was. Same courtyard, same winter air that feels like it's personally mad at your lungs. Chloe's barefoot again, because apparently, shoes block truth. She's got another crystal circle going, but this time it's bigger, like she upgraded to the deluxe package. There's a little metal bowl in the middle with a candle, a stack of papers, and what looked like a bundle of sage plus a printed screenshot from some Law of Attraction account. She had 2 tall candles, too. One labeled Liam and one labeled Chloe, written in Sharpie, like that makes it binding. Security is watching from the doorway like they're waiting for a boss battle to start. She sees me, and her face does that thing where she tries to look serene, but her eyes are panicking. "Liam, I was hoping the universe would guide you to me. Building management called. Said you were doing whatever this is." She launched into a routine, closing energetic loops, returning harmful intentions, the divorce being just a concept. She held up the papers like they were cursed. Started chanting. "Chloe, the prenup. You violated it." The prenup was signed under a lower frequency. We were different people then. We signed it 2 years ago. You're the same person, just worse at hiding it. She tried the pivot. Thanksgiving was a test. Brandon was the universe showing me what I needed to heal. I'd been doing the work. You've been texting him for months. That's not a test. That's cheating. Her face twitched. The serene mask cracked. It was emotional support. You were always so closed off. There it is. My fault again. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded paper titled Intention Agreement, with bullet points about trust, growth, and mutual abundance. You want me to trade a legal contract for that? It's about energy, Liam, not control. Chloe, no. Security shifts closer. Her voice starts shaking. If you do this, you're blocking your own happiness. I don't think I will. I already did a cord cutting with Brandon. The candles proved it. Candle wax isn't admissible evidence, Chloe. I hand her my attorney's card. What's this? All communication goes through counsel. No more texts. No more energy lectures. She stares at the card. Then, because she can't help herself, she holds the divorce papers over the candle again. I'm sending it back. I look at the security guy. If she lights anything on fire, call the non-emergency line. I look back at Chloe. Paperwork doesn't care about vibes. She starts crying. Liam, please. I love you. You love the idea of not being alone. That's different. Goodbye, Chloe. I don't argue. I don't debate. I just turn and walk back inside. Behind me, she's still whispering affirmations into the cold air, trying to manifest a reality where disrespect doesn't have consequences. Daniel texted me 10 minutes later. Bro, she's outside again. Security says she tried to return to sender your divorce like it's junk mail. Some people learn. Some people light candles at problems and call it growth. Then came Ethan's text, Liam, I need to talk to you. Can we meet? We got coffee that afternoon. He looked different, alert, like someone who'd finally woken up. I'm filing for divorce. I saw everything at Thanksgiving. How Brooke orchestrated the whole thing. How she's been lying about our finances. I've been documenting everything for months. I was just waiting for the right moment. He handed me a few printouts. Confirmed what I'd already found on Chloe's laptop, plus filled in gaps. Brandon had been lying the whole time about the condo. He'd been crashing at a friend of Brooke's since before Thanksgiving. The 3-bedroom with city views was just a corporate furnished rental with a move-out date circled. Past due notices for his car lease, collection letters, a performance plan at work. The regional director wasn't thriving. He was cosplaying success with overdue notices and a short fuse. And the emails between Brooke and Brandon? They'd planned the whole thing. One email from Brooke 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, "Mom's on board. We'll do it at dinner. You just need to be charming and let the comparison speak for itself. Liam will either blow up and prove he's unstable or sit there and take it and prove he's weak. Either way, Chloe sees what she's missing." They'd choreographed everything. The toast, the comments about property values, the condo bragging, all scripted. I forwarded everything to my attorney, the planning emails, the financial documents, all of it. "Thank you for showing me the full picture," Ethan said. "Thank you for showing me it's okay to walk away. I've been drowning for years. Watching you stand up, that woke me up." By late spring, the divorce was final. For months of back and forth, 2 mediations that went nowhere. Then she finally signed. Prenup held. Chloe got her car and her stuff. Nothing else. Clean break. The assault charge got dropped. Ethan's detailed statement confirmed Brandon swung first. And the DA wasn't chasing a losing case. But I wasn't done with Brandon. Civil court's a different game. I sued for assault and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Took 8 months. Those planning emails would have been read into public record at trial. Brandon knew it. He tried to settle at $5,000. We went back and forth. Settled at $18,500. Every dollar came out of his pocket because he'd let his renter's insurance lapse. I donated half of it to a local youth boxing program. Felt right. The other half went into my savings. Call it the placeholder fund. Brooke's termination landed about 6 weeks later. HR finally moved on those complaints. She tried to negotiate a quiet exit, but the paper trail was too thick. Brandon got let go after. Turns out the performance plan was just a formality before they cut him loose. Ethan's divorce took longer, about 9 months, once the financials got audited. He kept the house and primary custody. Brooke got supervised visits and a payment plan for the debt she'd hidden. And me? I'm good. Debt-free, drama-free. Got a promotion in February. Senior accounting manager now. The irony isn't lost on me. Met someone new a few months ago. A physical therapist named Olivia. Practical, grounded, no crystals, no manifestation podcasts, just normal conversation and real laughs. It's refreshingly boring. She asked about my last Thanksgiving. My mother-in-law ended up covered in turkey. That sounds like a story. Her ex-boyfriend's fake watch ended up in a puddle of gravy. She was picking stuffing out of her hair for days. Had cranberry sauce in her eyebrows. I need all the details. Maybe someday. Short version. I left that dinner with my dignity, a prenup enforcement, and a story I'll tell forever. Sometimes I think about that scene. Sarah on the floor wearing the main course. Brandon next to her, jaw swelling, sitting in gravy. Brooke's designer dress ruined. Ethan finally laughing. They wanted me to fold, to beg, to prove I was worthy. Instead, I threw one punch, watched karma deliver the turkey, and walked out. That's not revenge. That's just consequences with gravity. And honestly, it's the most peaceful I've felt in years. So, what's the craziest family dinner you've ever experienced? Or if you were in my shoes, what would your next move be? Let me know in the comments below.